Discipline is doing the things you should, even when you don't want to.
You haven't been eating in the right way. Your ability to regulate yourself mentally and emotionally is very difficult to do. The best athlete in the world, the best female athlete in the world, 49 seconds, she could not stand or speak. Now imagine someone's trying to kill you.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Kevin,
What's up? What's up? How goes it?
what is going down, bro?
Not much, man. Just came back, feeling older every day a little bit, but trying to figure out to find this balance. Like, how can I golf 2 to 3 days a week? How can I fight 3 to 4 days a week and fight hard? And, do I have to get back in the strength training? Because I stopped strength training back in, what was that, February, just to kind of see what would happen to my body. The tendonitis is doing really good. My spine is doing really good. But yeah, I had something happen like 3.5 weeks ago, through my back out and things like that. So just trying to get answers, man. It's like I turned 40 and now all of a sudden I got some work to do. So I don't know how you're still standing there, old balls.
Hey, Kevin, don't fool yourself, bro. You have no spine. Let's be clear.
Oh, nice. Good.
You're 40? You're 40?
Just turned 40. Yeah.
I can't remember when I was 40.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like I can't remember that.
It's
I'm
too
50
too long ago.
I'm 54.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, you look it. So.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Oh, right on, man. Right on.
That might be, what you just said with what's been going on with you, might be a good jumping off point
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this to anybody who's still listening. The topic for the day, if you find yourself resisting listening to it, then that probably means that episode is for you.
Nice.
Either if you think that you have all of this topic squared away, or if it's something that's not interesting to you, you think that isn't important, or you think it doesn't tie into self-defense,
Yeah.
I would put forward a challenge to you to make it a point to sit down to listen to what we have to say here.
Yeah.
I don't like throwing out credentials, but I do have a formal credentials in this area. Not just the self-defense credentials, but I lectured at medical schools for 15 years. I had a clinical practice for 15 years. It's so the things that I'll be putting forth and Kevin will be putting forth will be real stuff. It
Yeah.
isn't two bros sitting down talking about. We might come off that way, but it isn't two bros just sitting out, just throwing stuff out there on this topic. And the topic is really, fitness and well-being for personal protection. And that it does directly tie in, by the way, but it also indirectly ties in. It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know, Kevin, you want to, I've got a million thoughts on this, but do you want to jump off on that?
Yeah. Well, I think, like you said, is it giving some background and giving some credentials kind of to it, right? I was a personal trainer when I first got out of the military. I used to be a fat little kid, right? Like technically obese. So I've been all over the spectrum. I've been, bodybuilding to obese to super skinny to fight weight at 185, 6'4", to having injuries and veteran affairs paid for me to go to school for rehab therapy. And so I learned a lot about this, but I would say the majority of what I'm going to talk about today is my personal experiences and the things that I've gone through with how health and wellness, not only to do what I do is super important, but how it's really tied into me just being a more balanced individual in my everyday life, right? And I want to continue to do this for another 40 years, right? Yeah. And I mean, I'm super injured. Like, for people that don't know, if you want to, like, just real quick breakdown, I don't like identifying with my injuries. So I'm really trying not to do that as much anymore. But for people that don't know, like, L4, L5 herniated ruptured discs, that means I have no disc. I haven't had a disc for approximately 12 years, right? I have another herniated disc that sticks out. which causes an incredible amount of nerve pain, numbness, etc., etc. I have 3 degenerative discs in my spine. I have stenosis in my neck, C6, C7. I have tendonitis in every freaking joint in my body, man. It is all come from a life, and that's not including broken bones and all these things, but a life of just living a tough life on my body, pushing my body to the extremes, and always living on it's either black or it's white, and never finding balance in the middle. And for the first time in my life at 40 years old, I feel like I'm starting to find some balance.
You and I don't see eye to eye on the balance part, and I don't mean that for everybody, by the way. I mean for myself, because
Yeah.
I don't, I'm like, I'm obsessed. I'm like balls to the wall all the
Yeah.
time. But that being said, that the balls to the wall obsession with what I do
Yeah.
requires recovery.
For sure.
It requires, like, for me, that's a part of my workday. You
Yeah.
know, it
Yeah.
requires prayer time and meditation time. It requires for me to do other things. Um, I force myself to do those other things. It requires a certain type of nutrition. And by the way, that doesn't mean that all I do is live this super hyper strict life.
Yeah.
I want to, like, enjoy my moderation.
Yeah.
You know, like Saturday's the day I eat whatever I want. You know, and I don't care. I don't guilt or shame myself about it or any of those things.
Yeah.
But it's a big part of it. Let me put kind of let me say this next.
Yeah.
We're talking about self-defense and personal protection. I can't speak for Canada, but I'm guessing it's probably close. In the United States, the leading cause of death is coronary heart disease, followed by diabetes,
Yeah.
um, and other chronic health conditions that are a lot of if you really boil back the causation of those things boils down to lifestyle
Yeah.
and knowing how to have real skills in managing stress.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes down to self-management, self-regulation, being able to manage your impulses,
Yeah.
things like that. Now, again, that doesn't mean when you start off this choosing to have this healthier lifestyle, like we talked about, I think touched on it last week, that you need to start off by jumping all in all at once.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even recommend that, right?
Yeah.
Slow, gradual, permanent change. Start with some small changes that will end up building into greater changes. And I could get into the neuropsychology of that and how that works. But usually, not usually, when you start with something small,
Mm.
that's good for you, it creates a habit that creates more new habits. And every time you do something that's good for you, you send yourself a message that you're worthy and that you're worth it.
Nice. Love that. Love that. Yeah.
Right. So that's what you want to do. You want to be constantly bombarding yourself with those types of messages. And that comes from everything that you do. For myself personally, apologize if I'm dominating this. I promise I'll pass it off to you.
Good, man.
But
All good.
I have a purpose for my life, and that helps. So everything I do is either consistent with that purpose or it's inconsistent with that purpose. And if my choices are not consistent with that purpose, I don't do it.
And your purpose is
Well, that's personal, but I think that my work is reflective of what my purpose is,
okay. Okay.
right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I don't share my purpose too often with people, right?
Okay. No worries. No worries.
Because
We'll throw you on the
yeah,
spot, bro.
no, that's all. It's all good. Well, I've just found that when you share your purpose with people, a lot of times they'll want to sabotage it, and
Interesting.
that's a whole nother thing. Who you surround yourself with. Like for me,
Yeah.
if a person is only 99.9% on Todd's side,
Yeah.
a person only wants Todd to win by 99.99%, then they want me to fail. It's
Mm,
that simple. The people who are in my life are either all in to support me,
yeah.
or they're all out. There's nothing. They're not sort of in to support, because I know that unconsciously they will find a way to sabotage that purpose.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, and
I've
I mean,
I've experienced it
without
my whole
going in,
life.
yeah, without going into details, like, when you and I got together, we had some pretty deep conversations, and there's a reason why you're like that. you know,
Yeah.
you you've had some very interesting relationships in your life, and without having to call out those a-holes, there's a reason why people are like that, and we are who we choose to be, right? And if somebody has mistreated us in our life, then there's a reason. Like, I have trust issues as well, right? But for me, I'm trying to become more trusting, but it takes time, right? For me,
Now, granted, those are industry people,
yes, yes,
and
very
our industry is filled with psychopaths and
true.
malignant narcissists. No, that's not an exaggeration.
I know,
It's a
I know. Yeah,
it's a way huge disproportionate percentage of people who are fall into that category that are attracted to this industry.
yeah,
It's two extremes. You have the altruists like us.
yeah,
We're in it to serve others, right?
yeah,
And we need to be self-sustainable, right? But we're in it to serve, we're in to give. But
yeah,
the majority of them are in to take.
yeah.
But they'll pose like they're in it to give, but the reality is they're in it to take, right?
Yeah, and I think that can be said about so many different kinds of businesses out there. Everybody, I'm sure, that's listening is able to relate. Um, for me, like, when I run my classes, running is a big part of it. And it's not like we're running laps, right? But in a self defense mindset, if you're not thinking that you can run or that you should run and you don't know how to run, right? And that's why we do ladders, right? So we lay the ladders out on the ground. We do single foot, single ladder. So it's basically just like walking. Single foot double ladder, skip one now. Single foot triple ladder. Now you're actually running. And you're teaching them good eye foot coordination. You're teaching them how to run. And holy cow, a lot of people have no idea how to run. Like, it's so
No,
fun, right?
no.
And I'm just glad that they're in class and they're doing it, right? So after we run on the way back, we monkey crawl, but it's exhausting. My warm up is not an easy warm up. It's built to make sure to prevent injury. It's built to create some strength. It's built to be functional. But one of my biggest pet peeves, and I hear this all the time, and if you're listening, like, if you want to do something, go do it. Don't tell yourself that you're going to get fit enough before you go do it, because that's just a load of shit, right? That's an excuse because you're choosing, like, well, I'm going to be embarrassed if I'm not 100% there.
Too bad. Come as you are.
That's it,
Like
right?
like I'm gonna get in shape before I go get in shape.
Right? Like,
You
it
know,
doesn't make sense to me, right? And I have
it's
guys that
a
are crazy fit, like super strong bodybuilders, right? Guys that run marathons,
yeah.
triathlons, things like that. And they come in and do what I do. And they're like, that didn't help me at all. The only thing I do know well, if you run marathons, you know how to suffer. You know how to get through suffering.
Yeah.
But cardio is completely different. How you move as a martial artist and how you move as a self-defense expert, you could say, is completely different. You have to be able to train that way. So if self-defense is really your number one priority for going to a martial arts place and training, then those are the muscles that you need. You don't need to have big bulging muscles like the bodybuilders, right? You need to be able to function and to be able to move well,
It's
right?
not even optimal because they use so much oxygen.
Exactly.
Um, um, a million thoughts there. Um, come as you are, just start. But the first point I would want to make is fitness for self-defense and fighting is a different energy system altogether.
All together. Yeah.
Well, here's an example. Someone who's actually become a good friend of mine now, at the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy when he first started. He just came out of the NBA. So he's an
Mhm.
elite athlete, 6'9", 265. That's his walk around weight. He
Yeah.
fights at heavyweight
Yeah.
now. And when he first came in, I mean, I'm, at the time I was like 52 years old, and I'm 6'1", 205.
Yeah.
And when it'd be time for us to spar or go rounds, I'm like, oh, when it's time for us to be a little bit more competitive with our rounds or grappling rounds, I'm like, I'm just going to wear him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to use pace even though he's bigger. He was like 28 years old at the time,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, I'm just going to use pace because he doesn't have as a weapon. And his energy centers weren't geared for his training. His energy centers weren't geared for fighting. And he would say, this is a totally different kind of fitness. I'm like, yeah. And something else for the audience to take into consideration. Okay. Kevin knows this about me. I train with some of the top fighters in the world.
Mhm.
UFC, Bellator, you know, people like world class kickboxers and professional athletes. And I've seen them completely gas out and crawl off the mat in 40 seconds.
Yep.
Okay, now this is an elite athlete, first of all, who they're physically, they're genetically made for this,
Yeah.
and they're in shape. Now, here's another example, okay? I don't know if the audience knows who Anthony Smith is. One of the top, kind of looks like Kevin. Lionheart.
I do
Lionheart.
get that. I
He's one
hear.
of the
I've
top
changed my
light.
lighting.
He's
There.
been one of the top
I'm Anthony
heavyweights.
Smith.
He's been one of the top light heavyweights in the UFC
Yeah.
for the last 10, 12 years, right? And about 4 or 5 years ago, he had a home invasion in his house while he was in training camp preparing for a fight. Now, granted, he walks around at 205 or he walks around at 235
Yeah.
and he cuts down to 205. So he's a big dude. He's 6'4. He's about Kevin's size.
Yeah.
He had a home invasion in the middle of the night and got into a fight with some random dude in his house. They fought underneath his coffee table for 45 minutes. And you know what he
Wow.
said? He said it was the hardest fight of his life. And he said he was afraid that he was going to gas out.
Wow.
This is Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Crazy.
Yeah. So this is why, like, if you want to start to wonder why your fitness
Yeah.
right matters for your self-defense, I talked about this a little bit. We in our black belt test, we had obstacle courses and we had a lot of fitness challenges as a part of it that were tied into what we did contextually, by the way.
Hmm.
It's contextual. But I asked this question, like, what if you had to go to protect your loved ones? You had to climb over cars and traverse long distances
Yeah.
and pick things up and get there and climb up the stairs to get to them and all that, right? But you didn't keep yourself physically able to do that,
Yeah.
let alone the fight. And you then think about how your performance is going to be. My training partner of 14 years now, he's a high speed SWAT guy, legit SWAT guy, told me a story a few years ago about how he had to sprint a little over a quarter of a mile carrying a 40 millimeter hand cannon. It's a
Yeah.
non lethal. He said he got there, he was so gassed out that his arms and hands were shaking so hard that
Yeah.
he could barely manipulate the 40 mil.
Yeah.
Like, it's you really need to think about the reality of this in the firearms training world, which I'm heavily into, right? The culture is so bad. Like, I don't mean to offend anybody here, okay, but the truth is the truth. So I would rather say the truth than not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the attitude really is like there's literally t-shirts that people wear in the firearms training world that says i i I'm fat, like bragging, like I'm fat, that's why I carry a gun. Like I don't have to fight, I don't have to be fit, all I need is that. Like
Yeah.
it's just absolute, and that's the culture of the firearms training world.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
all
I
I
mean,
gotta
that's
do
the
is
culture of the comment section. That's the culture of just people who carry guns and don't actually train. You know, they don't do stress inoculation training. They don't know what it's like to actually, try and put it on paper when your heart rate's 145 beats a minute. That's not even high. There's so many people in this world that are so obese that their resting heart rate is
they're,
180 beats a
they're
minute.
delusional.
Yeah.
Here's just another quick example. I was a Division I track and field athlete. I was a high hurdler at a top 20 university in the United States in track and field.
Mm.
I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to let you know I understand this. Okay.
Yeah.
And I still follow track and field. It sets up the story. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's probably the most premier track and field athlete in the world right now. Her name is Sydney McLaughlin.
Okay.
She's broken the world record in the 400-meter hurdles, I think, 6 times.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And she, the last 2 times that she broke the 400-meter record hurdles, the hurdle record,
Yeah.
the last time at the Olympics too, she sat down. And usually after someone breaks a world record and wins a gold medal, they take their flag and they'll do a victory lap. And she sat down and she just sat there.
Yeah.
And they interviewed her and they asked her, why didn't you take a victory lap? Why didn't you stand up? Why didn't you celebrate? Why did you just sit down? She said, because I couldn't stand.
That's
That's
awesome.
one lap with 10 hurdles, 49 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best athlete in the world, the best female athlete in the world, 49 seconds. She could not stand or speak.
Yeah.
Now imagine someone's trying to kill you.
Oh, right. Right.
Or you're trying to go save your loved ones, but you haven't kept yourself fit enough to do it.
Yeah.
It's that people, if they only knew how important that was.
Well, and I think that's why there's this illusion that people are like, well, I want to be fit before I go and start training with you, Kevin, because it's going to be hard. I'm like, it's going to be hard anyway, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like fitness, or this idea of fitness, right? Like, gives people this illusion that they're good. So I just did this corporate event last week, and at the end we were just joking around, and I was asking everybody, like, what's going to be the thing that helps you the most? What's going to help you be a hard target, right? And a guy at the end of it, he came up to me, he's like, you know what, like being jacked and being swole, is a deterrent. And I'm like, well, you're right, it is a bit of a deterrent, but if somebody
It
who,
also attracts aggression. It also
there you
attracts
go,
aggression.
right? But if somebody who's super physically muscular and fit, like, let's just say CrossFit, like, obviously being a personal trainer, I'm not a big fan of CrossFit. They have come a long way. I will give them that. They have proper Olympic lifting coaches now. They're starting to do things right. They're starting to understand it more. It's not just, hey, here's this super hard workout that we did mentally, right? And physically for sure, right? Like, they are in phenomenal shape at what they do, right? So I'm not knocking CrossFit. It's not a big thing for me because I never noticed that it helped me. It actually just made all of my tendonitis worse. It made all my spinal injuries worse. And I had very good form. I was very lucky to have some great Olympic coaches along my side, Olympic level coaches. When it comes down to fitness, though, right, I feel that people just want to feel a little bit better. But to be perfectly honest, the world has become so shallow. I feel that they just want to be fit so they look good.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, so I get that. I get that way more than you guys think, right? Used to be fat. I have body image issues. I have psychological body image issues as well. Right. And I used to be a model when I was younger, and it has been programmed into me that if I have any bit of fat on me, like I'm talking like 7% body fat, I still perceive myself as fat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It has been a really hard struggle in my life to be able to get over that point to where I'm actually just training and feeling good and feeling healthy and all these things. And as time goes on, I'm learning more about it, which is great. I am finding more of a balance, which is great. But how is that going to help you? You look good while you're getting your ass beat. You look good.
They don't know. They don't understand how much oxygen, like how many people in the UFC, how many kickboxers or boxers even are super muscular. They're not, because it takes so much oxygen to feed that muscle and calories to feed that muscle as well.
And the weight comes too hard.
It's a complete, and it's dense, right, for them to make weight and stuff. But that's at a super high level. But I'm not saying not to have muscle density, right? Let's not jump to an extreme. I'm just saying that the muscles are trained in a very different way.
Yes.
And if you're going to do strength conditioning training, get with someone who knows how to use that type of resistance training that's specific for what you want.
Yeah.
I'm not here to poo-poo body, or bodybuilding or, physique competitions or anything like that. I'm not. That's cool. I mean, I think the juice is worth to squeeze if that's what your jam is.
Yeah.
But too many people want to conflate things. Like if someone comes up to me and I have to defend myself and they happen to be big and muscular, I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
good. Because I know I'm just going to drag him into deep water,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to drag him into deep water and they're going to go, oh my God, I'm fading so fast. And I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're going to carry my weight and they're going to wonder, they're going to burn themselves out because all they've done is build up all that fast twitch muscle, right? And I'm naturally a fast twitch muscle guy, right? I
Yeah.
don't naturally have a lot of slow twitch muscle fiber.
Yeah.
But the point really is like for cell, and none of that, it's usually not flexible.
Yeah.
So there's usually lacks flexibility. So the point is, let's not fool ourselves into thinking being unfit is going to be healthy
Yeah.
and best for self-defense.
Yeah.
And let's not fool ourselves into thinking that just because we have a lot of muscle, that means that we're prepared to defend ourselves too. Is it a deterrent? I don't know. I don't know about that. I maybe.
I think it depends. Like if you're huge, like everybody says, well, size does matter. It does if it's functional, right? But like, I don't know. I had this guy come in like 2 years ago, 6'3", 240, very, very muscular, but like dense muscular, like not bodybuilder, maybe used to be a bodybuilder. I didn't ask because he didn't stick around for too long. Because I had like 6'1" and like 5'11", $140, $150 guys just handing his ass to him. Right.
Oh yeah.
And they're just like, he's trying to use muscle. And it worked for the first, like you said, 30 to 40 seconds. But when we start having our energy systems burn out, sorry, now you're starting to see like, oh, you got nothing left in the tank. Now I'm going to inflict my will on you.
And
And
now
now,
that they don't know how to breathe
yeah,
during the fight to continue to oxygenate. They don't know how to manage their energy.
yeah,
Right. That's a whole nother thing. Like, right, you can spaz out and burn yourself out quick. You got to know when to be explosive, how to be explosive. Here's another example. Kevin knows this, but Rose Namajunas is one of my friends, and she's one of my athletes, right?
mhm,
One of my students. And there's a video on social media. You can find it. There's the world's strongest man competitions,
yeah, yeah,
the guy who's the world's strongest man, he's an absolute mountain. I don't know, he's like 6'9", almost 400 pounds.
yeah.
Just literally the world's strongest man competitions
Well, yeah, I
wins.
used to follow them religiously.
And
Yeah.
he has a social media thing where he goes around, right?
Yeah.
And he went to Rose's house, and she has her home gym. That's where she does like 90% of her training is at her home gym.
Yeah.
Remember, at the time, she fought at 115 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So and he does jujitsu. So he grappled with her. Now,
Yeah.
granted, he did eventually kind of win,
Yeah.
but she was a handful for him. And he started to gas out, and she's 115 pounds.
Yeah.
And the
Actually,
world's and
three
the
times
world's
as high.
strongest man,
Yeah.
right? Because she knew how, like, her fight IQ is like
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
She knew how to fight him.
Yeah.
She knew how to grapple him. And so I just want to let people know, you want to learn how this stuff works. Don't fool yourself about too many things. I want to also jump back to one of the things that you were saying, Kevin, about self-image with this. And I'm just going to put out some opinion.
Yeah. Please.
So, but there's a lot of literature that supports what I'm going to say. Okay. When I had my clinical practice, there's a lot of what I did was coaching. A lot of it was lifestyle coaching.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peterson will tell you that too. A lot of it's coaching.
Yeah. True.
On top of the clinical side of it. And the approach that I took was that approach that helped people to reshape their self-image and their self-concept.
Mm.
The research actually shows that until the self-concept is changed, the behaviors will only be short-lived and they won't be consistent with it. I would always tell people you'll 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 do things consistently that are consistent with your self-concept and your self-image. So if a person doesn't see themselves as healthy, fit, wholesome, in those ways, and that person that's worthy and worth it, if they don't see themselves in that way, their behaviors will only be short-lived.
Mm,
So that's an important thing to do,
for sure.
to
Yeah.
work on reshaping your self-image. Now, it works both ways. When
Yeah.
you behave in a certain way that's consistent with the new self-image that you want, it reinforces that new self-image. But also vice versa, how you see yourself consciously and how you see yourself unconsciously will also promote you to behave in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, that there's ways that you can do that. You can start to visualize yourself in a new way for a few minutes every day, and then do a few behaviors that are consistent with that, and the way that your self-talk is, and the people that you choose to surround yourself with, the music you listen to, what
Yeah.
you consume on social media, television, movies, all of those things are all things consistent with your self-image and how
Mhm.
how you see yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important piece. But like Kevin also said, and we said, just show up, just go. All of these things, when you start training, it's scalable, right?
Yeah.
If we have a
Yeah.
new person, we can scale the training to them. We don't expect them to be jumping in and being ready for super high level stuff. We scale it down to where we meet them where they're at,
Yeah.
right? And so they go enter in with a very realistic expectation for what you can do.
Mhm.
Social media has really created unrealistic expectations, and movies and video games and television have created really unrealistic expectations for human performance and extreme stress and all that. And who you think, fitness too, right? All the models and the commercials and social media, like, and social media videos, all that, like, that's not reality. Self-defense is like it you isn't really superheroes, unlike all these people on social media who pose and they've crafted an image of themselves as some type of a superhero. Trust me, I know them. I've trained with them. I've touched hands with them. They're fucking not. No, I mean it.
Yeah.
They're
No, for
not. They're
sure.
they're full of shit. That's what they are.
Well, it's a facade, right? And I think there's this balance where it's like, so I'm reminded of one movie. I don't remember the exact movie. I'm sure once you guys hear the quote, you'll be like, oh, it just came out, right? But there's, the antagonist in the film, right? And then the hero, right? And the hero's kind of like they're beaking back and forth. And the hero looks at him and he happens to have his shirt off in the scene and he's shredded, like shredded. Like, I mean, like 3-4% body fat, like just shredded, right? And the guy goes, you know why you're being crazy right now? Because you need carbs, bro. Your brain needs carbs. You need carbs, right? Because he's so shredded. And people don't understand, like, to get to that bodybuilding level of 3 to
Yeah.
6% body fat,
Yeah.
not just a ridiculous amount of discipline, but you are literally suffering. You are starving
Yeah.
yourself, starving your
Yeah.
body to get to
Yeah.
those points. And
And he got paid $20 million to do that movie, and they hired a team of the best nutritionists and personal trainers around the clock, and they're on performance enhancing drugs.
there you
I
go.
worked in Hollywood for 10 years. I know how this works. I've been there. I know this stuff, right?
Yeah,
Again, unrealistic. They have all the perfect lighting. They've
there
got
it is.
makeup on. Everything is designed to enhance everything, a heightened sense of reality, and it's not reality at all. I know people who have the worst dad bod you've ever seen, who will absolutely murk you.
Yeah, yeah,
I know girls that are 19 years old that weigh 110 pounds soaking wet,
yeah,
who've been grappling since they were 4, who will
yeah,
take you down, gas you out, and choke you out
yeah,
before you even break a sweat.
yeah, yeah. Before they break a sweat, because you'll be
But that's
sweating.
what I mean. And
Yeah,
before you
yeah,
break a sweat, too.
yeah,
Like, you're
yeah,
just,
yeah.
right? You're just done. You're just done. People have no idea. It's
I,
just absolutely a fantasy. And that's part of why we want to do this podcast, right? We want to burst that bubble. We want to break that fantasy, that illusion that's out there, what we call the outdated, the old paradigm,
Yeah.
the bullshit paradigm. No more of that.
Yeah.
Let's get down to reality. If you want to be real with yourself, you want to be real with self-defense, you got to be real with yourself. You can either do it or you can't. You can't fake it.
Yeah.
You can't fake it. You can try to fake it. You can try and talk it and all that stuff. You can't.
Yeah.
Get down to brass tacks and get real. Roll up your sleeves, get dirty, show up to class, and slowly start to change your lifestyle and change that. And that's the best part. Like it's you versus you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're constantly working on yourself, and you're surrounding yourself with people who are working on themselves, and they're supporting you and you're supporting them. Positive resistance.
Well, and you're
it's absolutely necessary. It's positive resistance.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about when you're going through it as a team together, right? And it could just be you and like the person you like rolling with or training with, but you both know like sucks the same amount because we're both doing it. If you can do 50 shrimps and I can only do 20, hey, we're still both suffering for the same amount of time. And as I continue to grow, maybe I'll get to 50, maybe I won't. But like in my program, we do no push-ups, we do no sit-ups, we don't do any squats. Everything is based on functional movement and functional things that you're going to use. So I have guys like, my spine's getting better. Hey, I've lost 35 pounds since training with you for a year. Hey, I'm in the best physical shape of my life. I'm like, hold on. What do you mean by physical? Right. And they're like, well, I feel like I can move. I'm doing more things with my kids. And they're just so much more active and like that. Right. So that's where it's, if we get away from this idea, this self-body image that we must look this way, and we just get to an idea of like this, if I train like this is how I'll look. Yeah. If I train like this is how I look. Well, people are like, well, how do you want to look? Like, and everybody wants to look like movie stars. Everybody wants to look like, soccer players, but really they just want,
did you say soccer players?
Bro, like some of the soccer players, when they take off their shirts, get like billions of likes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, have you seen them flop if someone actually bumps into them? Like, come on, bro.
I knew you were gonna go there.
I'm taking away your man card just because you said that stuff. Someone breathes on them and they flop around like they're in pain and they cry and they get carried off the field. No, take that back right now. Take that shit back.
They look
great, soccer players.
Useless.
No soccer players.
Well, the thing is though, right, is they run all the time. So of course you're gonna get it. Of course you're burning calories. So I do want to give the audience some things to take away though. Like I'm sure everybody's
run like prey. They run like prey.
Run like prey. So what can they do, right? So for me, right, I feel like I'm pretty physically fit. I look well. I'm finally happy for one of the first times with how I look. And I've actually been mostly focused on what does a martial arts build look like, right? So I'm doing my punching, I'm doing my kicking, I'm doing my grappling, I'm doing my takedown. So I'm physically fit, right? And I have to be very careful to the audience because of my spine, right? I can't deadlift, I can't squat, I can run, but I can only run in a self-defense situation to get to safety. Then I won't be able to actually walk for about 3 or 4 days because my foot drop is so bad, because there's too much pressure into my spine, my herniation. Right. So I have it built into me that I can do it for the short amount of time, but I have to be careful and I have to be smart with how I train.
Boom! The self-defense industry is broken, wouldn't you agree? Have you gone from martial art to martial art looking for the responses that you need to have for a self-defense situation? Well, I spent 35 years training in martial arts. I acquired 7 different black belts to find out that when I pressure tested their shit, it didn't work. So what did I do? I had to come up with my own system. Make sure to check it out at budobrothers.com. Build the confidence you need to stay safe.
With that being said, though, I personally believe that yes, the physical fitness side is super important, but more than anything is nutrition. Is you are what you eat and you are what you're putting into your body. And it's not just calories in, calories out. That's going to help
Yeah.
you look good or lose weight or gain weight, whatever your function
Yeah.
is. What I've really noticed since about probably 4 years ago, when something big happened in this world and I stopped trusting certain organizations, I started really watching what I was putting into my body.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe how much different I feel. My
Huge.
inflation is so inflammation, not
Everything. Everything.
inflation rates are high, but inflammation is down, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where people, they just don't want to give up. You know, it's a deadly sin for a reason, right? They don't want to give up this gluttony. They don't want to give up all of the food that they've been trained that tastes good, right? When it's really just loaded with
Yeah.
a crazy amount of sodium and, sugar or fructose.
Yeah. I'll say it like this. Everything that affects you psychologically also affects you physiologically.
Mm.
And everything that affects you physiologically also affects you psychologically. There's no separation between the mind and the body and the spirit for that. That's a scientific fact. And that's what I used to lecture on. I can geek out on that, but I'm not going to right now.
Okay.
When you hear the cliche, you are what you eat, that's literal, meaning like the the building blocks of your body, those molecules, and that's true psychologically and emotionally too. Emotions are molecules.
Yeah.
And the building blocks of those molecules are predetermined based on what you consume, what you take in through your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with what you're breathing. How's your breathing?
Yeah.
Starting with your hydration, right? And then your electrolytes and your micro nutrients, and then your macronutrients, And are those nutrients consistent with what you want your life to be? Like Kevin will probably agree. But like I'm 54 years old and I train a lot, so I have to eat in a specific way. I have to eat at specific times.
Yeah.
So I have to. Otherwise, I physically can't. I physically can't do it. And then also, I feel better about myself because let me give you an example. Let's be a little bit more direct with self-defense, okay?
Yeah.
Emotionally, emotional self-regulation and self-defense is a really big deal. Most people don't know this. There are 121 different emotional peptides in your gut. So when you eat, it's an emotional experience.
Mm.
And then it has a direct impact on your serotonin and your dopamine production. That has a direct impact on your blood sugar. So I don't know if you know this, but there's been a lot of formal research on this, that the overwhelming majority of violent crimes occur and violent criminals are experiencing either high or low blood sugar at the time of the violence took place at.
Wow.
Your
I mean,
your
that's
your
not surprising, but
your
wow.
hair trigger, your emotional hair trigger. It's like everyone knows they get hangry, right?
Yeah.
They're hungry, and so they're on edge, and and a lot of those violent crimes will happen. People will perpetrate violent crimes when their blood sugar is too high or too low.
Mm.
And also, you're going to have to regulate yourself. You're going to have to make good decisions. You're going to have to regulate yourself emotionally. So if you haven't been eating in the right way, your ability to regulate yourself mentally and emotionally is very difficult to do.
Mm.
So it literally, what you're eating directly impacts how you would be performing and the decisions you would be making and how you'd be regulating yourself mentally, emotionally during that critical incident.
Wow. Wow.
And
I always
that's
knew
just
that.
for starters. What's
Yeah.
that?
Like I feel like I always knew that, but like I love food. Like I
Oh,
love
I know.
food.
I
Oh,
know. I've seen you eat, bro.
right. But like I really do like food. There are some things that bring a smile on my face, right? You know,
Yeah. And
and food
you should enjoy
for
food.
sure, for sure. But like I mean, like I love food, bro. Like if if I could process well, mentally, physically, and spiritually, if I could fight like I do every day, if I could feel good, if all of these things still happen and I just could eat unlimited, I would spend 4 hours a day eating, no problem, bro. Like, I love it so much. I am such a fat kid in the deepness of my soul. Like, I'm Kung Fu
Don't
Panda.
say that to yourself.
I know. I'm working on it, but I'm
Sorry,
for sure
sorry,
Kung
sorry.
Fu Panda. Like, like Kung Fu Panda spoke to me, man. Like, it really did. Cause it's like, he's so happy when he eats, right? And it's just, food is that happiness to me. There's nothing more than I love than eating a really nice steak, and like I'll sit there and like I crush food like quick. But when
Oh,
I
I
have
know.
a meal I love, like I sit there and I cherish it and I enjoy it. But the thing is if I ate how I wanted to eat with no self-discipline, I would easily be 600 pounds. I don't mean 400 pounds. I don't mean five. I mean, 600, 700 pounds. You need something to lift me out of my bed. I have people I pay to wipe my ass, kind of thing. Like, dude, I would love that life. Like, I would love, well, sorry, I wouldn't love that life. I would love the fact that I could eat whatever I wanted. Like, that's how much I love food. The amount of discipline it takes in me to be as healthy as I am it's very, very difficult. I won't lie. It's become
Yeah.
easier over the years because now I just get into a routine. And ever since let's say 2012, ever since 2012, I've had a really good routine. Monday through Friday, I'm very strict on my diet. I only eat rice or versions of rice. I stay away from gluten. That's helped with my inflammation. I really limit, well, there is no sugar, right? Other than from fruit, but even then, it's a small amount. I'm getting it from my fruits and my vegetables at the most. This is probably the only thing that actually has sugar in it, and that's a little bit of almond milk in it, but it's a matcha, it's not a tea. Um, and but it's only because when I ate like shit, I perform like shit. And
Yeah.
when my job requires me to do what I do Monday through Friday, and I need to be on point, I don't mess around with it. I don't touch alcohol. I don't do anything like that. But on the weekend is now my time for my treat, like you said. You have Saturday morning pancakes, right? I have a Friday night beer.
They're protein pancakes, Kevin. Don't take that away from me. They're
Okay.
protein pancakes. Hey, when I was a coach in this area, I
Yeah.
would ask the question, are you feeling bad because you're eating bad, or are you eating bad because you're feeling bad?
I'm
Right?
fat because I'm sad, and I'm sad because I'm
It
fat.
starts a vicious downward cycle. Then these small little choices start to create more of an upward cycle. And then I would coach them and say, listen, say this to yourself if you like it, right? Now I eat to fuel and nourish myself, and I soothe myself with things other than food.
Because of the limitations of live fire and the restrictions of most live fire ranges, we've realized we have to do things differently, and we want to do things differently. We take a principle-based, integrated, and holistic approach to our training that includes pistol craft, weapons-based combatives, as well as soft self-defense skills and education designed specifically with the citizen defender in mind, in a way that can be done anywhere by anyone. So how do we do that? What does that look like? It's not really something I can explain to you. It's something I have to show you. So stick with us, and together, we'll make the world a safer place.
So I would teach them how to self-soothe outside of food, because they would self-medicate with food. You
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
That's how they would calm themselves and soothe themselves, would be with food.
Yeah.
And so like, no. Then ask yourself the question, do you really need to eat right now, or you just want to?
Yeah.
Are you really hungry? Does your body actually need it?
Yeah.
If it does, cool. If it doesn't, say, okay. And there's ways that you can snack, hard-boiled eggs are amazing. There's other things, right, that you can
Yeah.
snack on.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate foods that are very satisfying. But that's kind of another important aspect. And that spills over into other things too. Alcohol and drugs and other forms of self-medication.
Yeah.
That people can, I've helped over 100 people lose over 100 pounds, and they didn't even realize where it went, slow, gradual, permanent change. Like, hey, if you lose a pound and a half a week, what is that, 75 pounds in a year? That you didn't even know the pounds were coming off.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't have to that's not sustainable to starve yourself. Don't go on a diet.
Yeah.
Right. Just change your lifestyle slowly, gradually, permanently, weave these principles in the fabric of your life.
Yeah.
And then you become a better person. Then
Yeah.
the people around you, right, they'll start to live in a healthier way. And so we start this ripple effect happening all around the world. Your self-concept improves. But I do advocate for enjoying your moderation.
Mm-hmm.
It's more satisfying that way. I look forward to Saturdays because I'm going to watch the fights on Saturday night, and I'm going to order a pizza, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to have protein pancakes on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And I just don't give a shit. I'm going to have a box of hot tamales while I watch the fight.
Hot
And I just don't,
tamales.
because I just don't
Little
give a
sugar
shit.
things. Those little
Yeah,
sugar.
I don't give a shit. I eat whatever I want on Saturdays.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then for me, I do intermittent fasting.
Okay. Yeah.
So 3 days a week, I'll go 18 hours without eating, and then
Yeah.
I'll go 6 hours of eating for 3 days a week. And
Yeah.
that really knocks down my inflammation a lot. And if you want to research the benefits of intermittent fasting, man, it's amazing what it does for you. And I feel great when I do it.
Yeah.
Days I have to really perform, I don't. I need, for me, I know, I need to have that brain fuel.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have fuel for my body. When I really need to perform, I won't fast. But 3 days a week at my age, intermittent fasting has been really helpful, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you say you won't fast when you need those energy stores?
When I need to perform well at my best, I don't fast.
You don't fast, yeah, because it's too hard, right?
I just won't perform as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I perform better when I do fast.
Yeah.
When I'm fasting, I'll perform better on those days that I need to perform when I'm eating. So it improves my performance in other ways, not just physical performance, but mental performance as well.
Yeah, like my weight fluctuates like crazy. I'll fluctuate like 10 to 15 pounds in a day. And I mean, percentage wise, at 235 pounds isn't that extreme, but everybody's always amazed, like, holy cow, like you look so much different in the morning than you do at night, if we're out at the pool or whatever. But I think for me it's on the weekend, like there's definitely guilt for eating poorly, right? Because I know that if I didn't eat poorly or drink poorly on the weekend, that I could be in phenomenal shape all the time. The only thing is I'm just not happy, right?
Yeah.
And I can get to a point of doing more. Like, do I need to do it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? No. Can I just do it like you do it of just Saturdays? For sure. And eventually what I'm finding is the older I get, the less cheat days I have, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want it to spiral and go out of control. I would probably say though that the biggest thing that I've noticed that have really helped people to help almost everything in their life is the amount of water that they're drinking.
100%.
Like, that has been, I am blown away. Like people are like, I have headaches, I have this, I have that. And in Calgary, we have what are called Chinooks, and Chinooks are basically when a warm front comes in and it causes what are called Chinook headaches. And so that's a little bit different. That's an environmental headache, but 95% of the time, unless you have something wrong with you, if you're having headaches, it's because you're dehydrated, right? And if you're dehydrated, it's, well, I'm drinking juice. That's not water. I'm drinking coffee. Obviously, that's not water, right? But it's not that obvious to a lot of people. When I do these coaches corners with the kids where I'm like, okay, how much water have you guys drinking today? And you'd think that the answer would be so much better amongst kids, but it's so bad. Like so bad.
We're made of it.
Yeah.
We're made in it.
76%. Like,
Did you know that the majority of the time when people are experiencing, I specialized in clinically with helping to treat anxiety.
okay, yeah.
And so most of the anxiety was taken care of by changing their diet, getting the stimulants and the excitotoxins out of their diet,
Yeah. So
right?
that'd be like caffeines and
Bal-
sugars.
yep, balancing their blood sugar,
Okay.
right? Most people don't know this, but the brain interprets low and high blood sugar as anxiety.
Wow.
You know what else how else it interprets anxiety? When you're dehydrated, your body is sending your brain is sending a signal that you need water, but your brain is misinterpreting the signal. So
Makes
you think you're
sense.
experiencing anxiety or depression, but you're actually dehydrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with sleep. Same with relaxation, meditation, exercise
Yeah.
are all physiological needs. They aren't luxuries.
Yeah.
Our society treats them like a luxury, but they're not. They're a physiological need. So when you make sure that those needs are met, now you start to stabilize emotionally,
Yeah.
right? And you're feeling better. So the better you feel, the more now now your body's craving, your body starts to crave water. Your body starts to crave healthy foods,
Yeah.
right? There's a whole thing I could get into on what happens at the cellular, the molecular level, and upregulation and downregulation. Those molecules are they're drugs. They're addictive drugs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you can become addicted to food just like you can a drug and all of these things. And caffeine is a stimulant. It dehydrates you. It's a diuretic. So you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. The list goes on and on and on, right? And so all these points that you're making, Kevin, are really important. And these are just basic things that anybody can do that doesn't cost extra money. That don't require a lot of time and effort. It's just making small adjustments that make a big difference. Here's what I say, like, if you can alter your trajectory a little bit, imagine where that's going to take you over time.
Right.
You're going to end up in a completely different place. A lot of people think it has to be this big move and all these big moves. No, small moves lead to larger actions. And that's, you know, that's what it's all about, man. And you're
Yeah.
living a happier, healthier, more fulfilling life and in every way. And for me, also as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus Christ, my body is a temple. My body is the temple where the Holy Spirit lives.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's another reason, like it's one of the reasons why one of the reasons why I want to treat my body the way that I do.
Well, and I think you nailed it on the head there. Is it's like eventually your body doesn't crave it anymore. Right.
No.
So during the better part of my late teens, 20s, all the way up until like early 30s, I was, yeah, a sugar addict. Right. I loved candy, like loved. There was phases where it would be candy and then it was chocolate and then it was cookies. And the cookie stage lasted a long time. Actually, funny story with the cookies for the audience. Okay. Um, Third year into owning my own dojo. Shit. Okay, maybe it wasn't too long ago. Okay. We're doing this Christmas celebration, right? I have everybody come in, right? And I'm like, okay, guys, there's gonna be a cookie competition, right? So
Guess
whoever
who the judge is
makes
going to be?
yeah. So whoever makes the best cookies, FYI, I like chocolate chip and peanut butter chocolate chip, right? um, will earn a free private lesson with me, right? So everybody's all excited. They all come in and like I literally had 400 different kinds of cookies like sitting in front of me, right? And I'm just like so happy, right? Because I'm 185 at the time. I'm super thin, right? It was just right before COVID, right? And I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, I get to cheat all of my Christmas break. I've been super clean, like super clean for like a solid 6 to 8 months. I'm going to go 2 weeks and I'm just going to go balls to the wall and just eat cookies, bro, and just eat. And I ate cookies and ate cookies. And because I was so clean for so long, yes, I got the endorphins. Yes, I got the dopamine hits that I wanted in that moment. But I felt terrible for months, dude. Months. It was bad. Like
It was
it
an
was
overdose.
it
It was
it
an
was
overdose
it was
because your body
crazy.
develops a, yeah, it's just like with everything else, like your body develops a resistance to it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So like you like, I can't drink coffee at all because I just freak out if I have caffeine. I
Yeah.
have no, my body has no resistance to the caffeine, to the stimulants.
Yeah.
And same, like I was never an alcoholic, but I stopped drinking. That's a whole nother topic, right? But I stopped drinking. It was 9 years ago on the 4th of July.
Wow, congrats.
And just because I felt terrible when I would drink, even though I wasn't a big drinker. In my
Yeah.
20s, I partied a lot, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a big drinker. I'm like, I'm just not going to drink anymore, right? If I had a drink right now, a
Yeah.
drink,
Yeah.
I have no resistance to it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with food, and it's the same with sugar,
Yeah.
right? And by the way, it's a great way to lose weight. You want to just
It
lose,
is.
you don't want the pounds just to fall off.
Yeah.
Cut the refined sugars out and just watch what happens.
Oh, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, right? What can happen. And so it's the same idea. Now it got to a point where I basically, maybe it was because I OD'd on the cookies, but I stopped cookies, man. Like I literally like I'll enjoy a cookie every now and then, but that's when my girlfriend knows, like, hey, you're feeling pretty balanced because you had one cookie there. You know, the kids got Subway and there's a 6 pack of cookies, and normally you'd be like, give me those cookies, bitch. Right. And now I'm like, I'll have one. I'm like, that was nice. But it's because I know I'm gonna feel like junk. Right. And I think that's the difference that I'm really feeling these days is it's like
Yeah,
have the moderation. You know, you don't need to have 6 beers, you can have 3 beers, right? Or just find something where you know you're not going to feel like crap. Like I haven't been hungover in a very
yeah,
long time, even though I
yeah,
still think I still like beer, I still like wine. I just recently, because of the
yeah,
Buddha Brothers, thanks, Eric, right? Got me into scotch, right? So I like those things, but it's all about in that moderation. Because when I
yeah,
became a dad 6.5 years ago, there was no way I could be a hungover 20-year-old and have a kid, right? There's no way I could do it. So I was like, okay, I have to change my mindset to this. I can't be hungover and
yeah,
expect to take care of a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year, however old, right? And I don't want to be a POS either, right? Like there needs to be this balance that I'm finding. And that's why I use the word balance. And really the word is actually moderation, right? Which is very similar. But I've gone to this point now where I feel like I've really found a nice balance with it. And what's interesting is now 40, I'm really looking at it more. Like this morning, going to this golf specialist physio, they did a what's called a TPI assessment. Um, it was basically seeing where all my muscle imbalances were and things like that. I really just went because I knew he was a physio. I knew he had this training. And I went to just pick his brain and be like, where are my muscle imbalances? What are you seeing that's wrong with my golf swing? I have to be able to train. I have to be able to do this. And the answer was, okay, you have to do a little bit more strength training again, but not strength training like you lift, Kevin. You're not lifting to 100%. We're lifting to increase longevity
yeah,
of your muscles. We're lifting
yes,
to increase the
yes,
density of your muscle mass. We're doing things, and the whole time I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, I'm old. I'm old. This is what I'm doing. I'm learning to live like I'm an old man. This is so ridiculous. Like, and I could just hear my ego screaming at me, like, don't listen to this guy. Just go lift and be jacked and do what you always did. But then what kicked in
yeah,
was, okay, now are you tired of being in pain? Are you tired of not being able to pick
yeah,
up your son when your back is sore? Are you tired of not being able to wrestle with him on the floor when you're all messed up because your back is toast? Are you
yeah,
tired of having to take so many
yeah,
rest days that you can't do it anymore? Are you tired
yeah,
of your stomach being sore, your irritable bowel syndrome kicking in? All of these things because you're out of whack and you're out of balance. And
yeah,
the answer was yes. So I'm the kind of person that needs to have my ass kicked in order to learn the lesson. And
It's a matter, it's a matter of prioritizing,
yes,
and it really is. And I know people don't like to hear that if anyone's still watching, you know, but well, I would have when I was a coach, everyone there's something called homeostatic resistance. That means that you'll gravitate toward what you know and what you're comfortable with.
yes,
The things that are outside of that, you'll experience resistance, and I could go on and on about that. But just to give some examples of people would say, "Well, I can't afford to get a gym membership. I can't afford to keep coming to see you, and I can't afford to eat that way, and I can't afford that lifestyle." I'm like, okay, so let's do a breakdown of what your life is like. Let's do a pie chart, and let's take a let's get into what your finances are like a little bit and how much you're actually spending. I'm like, you spent $240 at the bar last week.
yeah,
Buying rounds and frozen pizzas from the bar, from the dive bar that you're at, and you won't hesitate to drive across town to get the best juicy Lucy cheeseburger and a basket of fries and a pitcher of beer. Like you spend $214 a month on cable TV. You won't bat an eye to spend a bunch of time, effort, and money to destroy yourself.
yeah,
Now the question is, are you willing to invest in yourself? Are you willing to put the time and the money and the effort into what's good for you, what's functional for you, as opposed to putting the effort into what's going to be destructive? We live in a society that's trained and conditioned us to be self-destructive,
yes,
destructive in our relationships, destructive
yeah,
in our ideologies, destructive in our lifestyle, right? Because it's a cool and fashionable thing to do. Let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago that there were doctors, MDs, and commercials that were selling cigarettes,
yeah.
approved by doctors. Like I won't go down that rabbit hole right now, but you can probably pick up what I'm laying down.
We get it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. You're not deficient in garbage.
yeah,
We're sold toxic sludge as if it was good for us in
yes,
every conceivable way.
yes.
Right. So it's really a matter of how are you going to prioritize this?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it comes to though, is it's like without, like you said, going down that rabbit hole is what martial arts has always done for me. And I mean martial arts, not self-defense, but being a part of a dojo, being a part of an academy, was it showed me and taught me about discipline. And, I was teaching, so I have another instructor that helps me teach the kids classes. And I told him, like, if your class is chaotic, it's because you lacked discipline. The kids are losing control and they're screaming at you, I need discipline, please. I need discipline, please. And you're choosing not to give it to them in that moment. That's our job as a parent or as a coach or a teacher, is to be able to give them things that they don't understand yet. As an adult, we still need the same thing, but it's going to look different because I can't treat an adult like a child as much as I want to, right? I also have to be respectful, because there's this point where it's like I said, if I could eat what I wanted, guys, I would be humongous. I would be humongous. And the thing is, like, the
I'm only
dopamine,
laughing, Kevin, because of how funny it is when you say it.
because dude, it's something I dream about.
I can tell.
Like,
I
no
can tell.
word of a lie. Like I would love to eat unlimited. Like, love it, bro. Like, love it. Like, you had no idea. In November, December, January, I pushed myself up to 272 pounds to see how big I could get. I was thinking about like World's Strongest Man at the time. And I was like, I just want to see how big. The max I ever was 246. Let's push those limits. Let's see how far it can go, right? Let's go, let's go. And I got to eat to my full potential, bro. Like, I actually got to eat to my full potential. And I started getting sick of food.
Yeah.
It's so hard to eat. But the thing was I was eating clean. I wasn't doing dirty bulking. I wasn't doing things like that. So I'm ingesting a lot of food, but it's all the normal food I would eat, just triple, quadruple size of quantity. It's like 12,000 calories a day kind of shit, right? Like, a lot. And I was kind of happy. right? But what I really wanted was to eat crap. I want to eat hamburgers. I want to eat pizza. I want to eat all those things. Back into the discipline, though, is discipline is doing the things you should, even when you don't want to, right?
And not only that, but the research shows that when you do that, you actually get a sustained dopamine release, the reward system. Like you can have a short-term dopamine release, right?
Yeah.
Or you can have it be sustained. And that's what we want. All these things that we're talking about, what they do is they create a sustained dopamine release. So you're feeling good, you're having more pleasure, and you're feeling more effervescent all the time. And when you do that, you want more of the thing that rewarded you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you'll just continue to move instead of that downward spiral I was talking about. Now you're slowly stopping that downward spiral and you're taking it in the other direction to an upward spiral. And then after a while, when your self-concept changes and your self-image changes and your lifestyle changes, good luck getting you off of it.
Right.
Right. You're not going to be able to get me off of my lifestyle. You're just not. I mean, ask my wife. Like when that has to, like there are times like we'll take a trip, we'll have a little vacation, and that gets disrupted. But there's only so much I can take from that. And she'll say, you start getting grouchy when your lifestyle gets disrupted. I'm like, yeah, that's for a reason.
Yeah.
My body and my mind is telling me you can't keep going this way. And then I'll have to redirect to get, and it's not, a lot of people have this idea that it's like you break, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't break, I just bend. We want to ebb and flow and flex. That's what we want. Okay, I got off a little bit, no big deal. And by the way, for what it's worth for you, Kevin, like I would stay away from shame.
Yeah.
And guilt, because that just is wants more negative stuff. So I'm not going to shame myself. Here's an example. Like I know might sound kind of controversial, but when I worked with addicts, like hard addicts, right?
Yeah.
Like hard stuff. And I would tell them, I'm not going to tell you can't use.
Yeah.
They'd be like, well, that takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's on you. Like, I'm not going to tell you can't lose. Like, you're not starting over on day one. This isn't AA. I'm like, then when they would have a long stretch of being clean, right, or success, and then they would like sort of they would fall off, right?
Yeah.
They would come back like, I'm really sorry. I'm like, well, don't apologize to me. Like, did you enjoy it? Like, are you serious? I'm not in trouble. Like, no, you're not in trouble. Did you enjoy it? They say, yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, so you enjoyed it. Or they would say, no, I didn't. I'm like, okay, so you didn't enjoy it. So now what? You had all of this success. You don't start over.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't start over.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just kind of make a small adjustment. And what happens is like the moments of success become more frequent, and the moments where you're not quite as perfect, right? We're not perfect anyway, become less frequent until you reaches a point where you've diluted the solution so much. Like if you put a drink in front of me, I wouldn't even want it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like no, we really want you to have that drink. I'm like, I know, guys. I know. I really I'm not gonna drink it. Like you can. I'm not even an alcoholic. I don't want alcohol in my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and there was a time when I really enjoyed alcohol.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, it's just I've diluted the solution so much it's no longer consistent.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong. It doesn't belong.
And that's it, right? And it's you've changed your lifestyle, right? You've chosen to live a new way. And I have so many friends now, and like I mean, we drank like in my early teens, in my late teens, in my 20s. I was in the military, like, bro, we drank.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, you were in college, all too well, right?
Oh, geez.
And the thing is it's like, I would never drink like that again, right? Like, there's no way I could. One, I just couldn't do anything for the next 3 or 4 days, right? But two, it's just because my life has changed. So people say, well, like, how do you change your lifestyle? That was always the thing. And it's these small gradual changes. but you have to be committed to it. And to be honest, like that's where my guilt and shame come from, is because I've set forth a goal that I want to have. And when
Yeah.
I make a mistake, being a perfectionist, when I make a mistake, I get mad at myself for falling off the wagon, for not
Yeah.
flowing. It broke. Right. And now I got to rebuild the bridge back up compared to allowing it to bend. I love that analogy because we're not perfect. It's okay to have those moments where you dip. There's going to be days when all of the stresses, your kids are messing with you, right? Their schedule changing, your ex, right? All these things are taking place, your business, inflation, the world, civil war, all these crazy things taking place,
Yeah.
that some days you're going to be way down and it wants to
Well,
snap,
the
but it
the
only
healthier
snaps.
lifestyle. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
The healthier lifestyle actually creates resilience. It creates a buffer
yeah.
for you to be able to handle greater unpredictable stressors, for
Mhm.
you to handle the chaos and the dysfunction that's happening in the world around you.
Yeah.
Right? It's the other way around. When they don't have that buffer, those external influences have more of an impact on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so when we have a lot of stressors and that's why, right? If I want to be performing at my best, right, then that's a load on me. In order for me to
yeah,
handle that load,
yeah,
I have to have my body and my mind and my spirit working at an optimal level. And I want to, and that's the spiritual side of it, is like now I'm also resonating at a higher frequency.
yeah.
So I'm attracting the right people into my life, right? And I'm having a better influence on other people. It's happening at the quantum level, at the unified field, right?
Yeah.
And so that's real science, by the way.
It
And
is. Yeah.
the foods that you eat are a harmonic, they're a frequency.
Mhm.
Emotions are a harmonic, they're a frequency, they're measurable. Your thoughts are a harmonic, they're a frequency, they're measurable. So how are you in what's called infecting the quantum field, or how are you creating a um what's called quantum entanglement? Like how are you being entangled and how are you influencing the world based on how you're resonating and how you're and what your frequency is at. And so your lifestyle, your beingness, I call it, here's something that might be helpful for people. Here's how I break it down. And feel free to disagree, Kevin, but this is how I look at it.
I disagree.
I call it be, do, have.
Okay.
Most people think that they're human doings. They think if I do this, then I'll have the result. And once I have the result, then I can be that, right? So
Yeah.
if I do healthy things, then I can have health and then I can be healthy. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, 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 no. Or if I do things that will make me successful, then I'll have success and then I can be successful. It's not do, have, be, because you're not a human doing, you're a human being. So
Yes.
if you be healthy first,
Mm.
if you be successful first, if you choose to just be it effortlessly, you choose to be it. For me, I've chosen to be infused with the Holy Spirit. For me, I've chosen Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah.
But then I'll do the things that are consistent with that state of beingness. And
Mm.
then I'll have the result as long as I understand I already had it.
Yeah.
It was already yours. So
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you can understand if you just be, do, have, and that doesn't require effort to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
then it's less effort for you to do because it's what you already have chosen to be. And you
Yeah.
can choose at any moment.
Nice.
You
Nice.
don't have to, you probably won't choose to be it all the time, but anytime that you get off course, you say, oh, I can choose to be that again.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it creates this constellation of what you are
Yeah.
because you continue to choose to be that first before you even did it. Makes
And
sense?
that really resonates with me for sure, because like as a perfectionist, that's what I'm striving for, is to find those moments of perfection and to live it, because I'm really just a control freak. Right. And the more I can control, the better the chances are of me not
Yeah.
having these outbursts, right? Or
Yeah.
these breaking or these tipping points. Because if I'm in control and if I can control everything, then I can easily do
Yeah.
this. So when a
Yeah.
new stressor is added in, right? The way I put it to the kids program is like, how full is your cup? Because if your cup is already super full and a new stressor comes in, it's going to be overflowing. But if you kind of live like
Right.
this, kind of like this is actually a pretty good example where I feel like I'm at today. My
That's
cup
your
is
load.
super full. This is how much I can take,
That's your
right?
load.
But that means that there's this much more going on.
Yeah.
Now, I feel this way because, well, one, it's today happens to be Tuesday. We normally record on Thursdays, but right, it's Tuesday. So yesterday I ate really healthy. Yesterday I got to teach, I got to train. I even got to, just do things that were more for me. And I feel really good about myself. I woke up this morning, I was doing something for the betterment of me. So my stress levels are really, really low right now. It's fantastic. I mean, life is very good as well. This is the best I've ever lived, right? Not financially, not, I mean, just overall, I feel very
Yeah.
happy and healthy. I
Yeah.
haven't balance. But you go 7 years ago, my entire life flipped upside down. Everything changed, right? I was engaged, no longer engaged, baby on the way. Holy cow. Sold my house to start my dojo. Like everything, like the cup wasn't just full, it was overflowing. And anything extra that came into my life, I couldn't handle. I couldn't. And in that moment, what I realized I need to do is, okay, what are some things I can take out? And I was like,
Yes.
you know what I need to take out? I took out alcohol. And it wasn't
Yeah.
actually, it was weird. It wasn't a choice. It was just like, I don't have time for alcohol right now. My life is so chaotic. So I'm going to shut that out. Once that happened, well, now I stopped making bad food choices, right? Now I started making healthier choices.
Yeah.
I also didn't have a
That's
lot of
that.
money because I was
That's
paying.
that positive. That's that positive cascade of changes that just starts to occur. What
Yeah.
you're talking about is called action capacity,
Okay.
right? And this is something that we talk about in human performance as well. Like there's only so much capacity that a human being has.
Yeah.
And now or think about it like a computer. What happens when you have too much application running at one time?
Yeah.
Too many apps happening at once. Your computer bogs down and eventually it crashes until you start turning off the apps that don't need to be there, right? And only have the apps running that need to be running. And now your computer's running at the optimal level because it's running at a capacity that's optimal for it. Like you're a car guy, right? What happens if you run your car at the red line all the time
It's fun.
with garbage gasoline,
There it is.
and you haven't changed your oil or checked your oil or other fluids in a long time, right? But it doesn't matter. Like in fact, even probably the higher performance vehicles are the ones that are the most sensitive.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing.
I think
We're
is the
running we're,
exact same. Yeah, that's a
we're
great.
running our red line. We're running at the red line too often, and we haven't been maintaining
Yeah.
ourselves. People will go maintain their vehicles without batting an eye,
Yeah.
but they won't do the things they need to maintain themselves.
Well, it's because it's money, right? They look at it and they're like, well, I'm gonna have to invest more money into it. I can tell you guys right now from personal experience, like,
You'll make more.
yeah, well, we have healthcare in Canada, but guess what? All the shit that I need to make me feel better, we don't get for free. Right? It's all the other stuff, right? I don't do pharma. I don't do all these things. Like if you guys see me take a painkiller or ibuprofen or something like that, that's because my pain level's a 10. But all the way up until I get to a 10, I don't touch that stuff, guys, because that stuff has done the exact opposite. I've seen it kill friends' kidneys. I've seen it destroy livers. I've seen it do erase stomach linings, all these things. And there is a time and a place. 100% there's a time and a place, right?
Sure.
Western medicine is important. I'm not some crazy hippie, right? But at the same point, when I need to feel better about myself is when I need to really start looking at where are all of the things that are filling my cup right now, and how much time and energy am I putting into things that don't need to be there, right? And
Yeah.
that's why for me, like in the self-defense world, I am very physically fit for what I need to do in a self-defense altercation. For me, it's because I want to be alert, tying back into previous podcasts. I used to do it out of fear, but in talking with Todd was like, change the words that you're using with that. Say alert, say you want to be alert, say you want to be prepared. Don't say you're doing it out of fear, because now it's not going to match in with the universe and the quantum entanglement that we're talking about, or manifestation, whatever it is that you choose to believe in, whatever buzzwords you use. When I feel like my life is super balanced and I have a good feeling going throughout my life, I don't have these roller coaster days or these roller coaster weeks
Yeah.
I have to contend with, because that's how I live my life. It was either on or off. I'm either following my nutrition and following my diet like so good, but now I'm actually suffering internally because I'm not eating to my full potential, because I'm not giving myself that little tiny bit of a treat, right? And you're going to have to find that you have your own balance, and that balance is going to be different from month 1 to month 12.
Totally.
Right? We need to make changes in our lifestyle. And I know lifestyle is the key word, right? And we keep saying it, but it's literally that. We need to change how we live on a daily basis. Just like with situational awareness, eventually it's just on, where you don't have
Yeah.
to think about it,
It
where you're
becomes it
already
becomes becomes effortless.
exactly.
At first, it requires effort,
It does.
right? A lot of effort.
Yeah.
But I'll say, like full disclosure with training, Kevin knows I train a lot. Kevin trains a lot. 85% of the time, I don't feel like going.
Yeah.
But I still go. Even if I have an injury, I still show up. I keep the habit going, right? 15% of the time, I'm all into it. I feel great. I want to be there. But 85% of the time, I don't. And it's just, but I get a really great sustained dopamine release, and I feel great about myself. But if I've never regretted going,
Yeah.
right? Ever.
Right.
It can be hard to start sometimes, but once I get started, I'm like, oh, I feel great now that I'm moving around and doing this.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it works. So just take that first step.
Yeah.
And then after you take that first step, take another first step. It's just a whole bunch of first steps, and make sure the step is a small one.
Yeah.
Or if you need to just get back on track, take a small step back on track, and take another small step back on track. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's actually true.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised on where you end up and how that will end up affecting everything, including your ability to protect yourself and to protect your family. Like it's the first thing. Remember, we're talking about personal protection. Well, you have a much higher probability of dying from coronary heart disease or diabetes than you do from an attacker.
Yeah.
In the United States, there are 8 million. There are 8 million aggravated assaults in the United States every year.
Yeah.
70 million people a year die from coronary heart disease.
Wow.
Almost all of our population now is obese, and a large percentage of our population is morbidly obese.
Yeah. Which is just
That's
terrible.
not to shame. I'm not shaming obesity.
No.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not going to do the world a disservice of not saying what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And
Well, and people know.
it's a complicated issue. It's a
Yeah.
complicated issue. I know that.
Yeah.
But it's true. I'm not like, I care too much about anybody who'd be listening just to say it any other way. That's what the reality of it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think there's 1,000 places in our minds to come up with excuses, right?
Yeah.
But when you really want to make a change, you will. The thing is most people make those changes too late, because they wait for the diagnosis
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
listen, you have diabetes, right? Or you have a coronary heart disease, and now
Yeah.
you can't go work out like you wanted to. Now you're on blood thinner medication. Now you're on this, now you're on that, and you're 40 freaking years old, right? And all these things are happening. And I mean, it's almost like people need to think about it like, in my head, like, you need to defend yourself against yourself, right? Because that's literally where we're at right now. It's we talk about, self-defense and personal protection, and it's like, well, hold on a second. You're the one that's going to prevent yourself from being able to help your family, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for me, I only started getting like anger management help once my family said, like, hey, you have some anger issues. We need you to take care of those. Right. I knew I had anger issues. I wanted to change who I was, but it took my family showing concern for me to actually go and get the help that I
Yeah.
needed after the military. Right. There's nothing wrong with what you said of calling out the truth of what it is. Those people know they're obese. Those people know they're morbidly obese. Those people know they're sliding down that path of being there. And more than anybody, and I'm speaking from experience, they want to make a change. The thing is you guys just have to do it. You need to step up, and you need to, like Todd said, do one small thing. That's why in my program I offer train one class a week, not even one day a week. I run 3 classes a day. Train one class a week, and when you start feeling better, go to 2 classes a week. When that
Yep.
starts feeling better, go 3 or 4. I have numerous people now who are on unlimited memberships, and they started at 1 class a week 2 years
Yep.
ago, and now they're coming in for, on average, at least 2 to 3 classes a week. And they are completely different people. They are so happy and so healthy, and they love it. And they're like, I didn't want to come today, man, but I knew how much better I would feel after I
Yep.
got here. I knew that the environment I was coming to, that there's a lot of people who don't want to be here either, but they're choosing to make a difference and be something different in their lives. They're choosing to be disciplined enough and saying, do you know what? I don't have this habit formed yet that this is just what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to drag myself out of here, and I could sit at home and I could watch Netflix for 5 hours and I could do all these things. But if I go and I leave for 2 hours and I come back, I can still watch 3 hours of Netflix, but I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to be one step closer to achieving the goal. I'm going to be able to feel better, to live better. Right. And I think that those things are so important for people to get to. And like you said, it's just one small step, but stop messing around, guys, and just do it. Do it.
Yep.
Right. And that's really what, what it changed.
If you feel resistance, or circling back to where I started,
Nice. Nice. Yes.
if you feel resistance,
Yeah.
that's the direction to go.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And then your homeostasis will change. Your homeostasis will shift. If you feel stressed going in that direction, then that's the direction that that you need to go. If it feels too easy and if it feels too comfortable for you,
Yes.
then that's probably not where you want to be. That's why we call it at IDS, we call it personal development through positive resistance. It's a positive form of resistance.
Yes.
As opposed to it's a functional form of resistance, as opposed to a dysfunctional form of resistance.
Beautiful.
And so that's it, man. That's it. You want to be happy, do hard things.
Yeah.
You want to feel fulfilled, challenge yourself to the maximum of whatever your capacity is at the moment. You might think, well, I don't have any capacity right now. I got nothing in the tank. I feel like I can't do anything. You can do that one small thing. Maybe it's just one more glass of water a day, and maybe that's where it starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have so many stories over the years when I had my practice where people thought it was hopeless, and it would just start with one small thing.
Yeah.
I have millions of examples of, can you walk to the end of your driveway and back? Can you walk up the stairs? That's something.
Yeah.
Something that you can do today. What is it? Anything. Can you do anything that's going to be more functional than what it has been? And then can you choose another thing? And then, like we've been saying over and over again, then that's just, now you end up over time, you end up in a whole new place.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the key things that, I'm taking away from not just today's conversation, but a lot of our conversations is positive self-talk, eliminate the guilt, shame, and fear, right? And start looking at all those little tiny changes that you're making in your life that can be for self-defense and situational awareness. It can be in your lifestyle choice.
Everything.
But it all intertwines. It all
everything affects everything.
It really does.
That's the point. Like everything affects everything. Right? That's what holistic is. That's what ecological dynamics is. Everything is affecting everything else.
Yeah.
It's holographic. It's fractals. That's how it all works.
Yeah.
So pick your, pick your thing, that one small thing. And even if you're rocking it right now, if you're doing great, what's that next thing that you can do that challenges yourself just a little bit more?
Yeah.
This week for me, we have our first IDS Apex conference, Fight
Yeah.
IQ for CW conference. I've never hosted a conference before.
Yeah.
I have people coming in from all over the world for this thing. We have world-class instructors and banquets and all, like, just a million things to manage. I've never done that before. I've taught at conferences, but I've never hosted my own conference.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things, like, got to take on the challenge. Challenge yourself. Is it going to be perfect? Yeah, it's going to be perfect. No,
Make
of
sure to
course.
check it out.
No, of course not. Of course,
Yeah.
it's not going to be perfect, right? But I always say if you demand less perfection, you can do more,
Mm.
right? And so whatever you're doing is enough. I always say you're already perfect. You could just use a little improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. No matter
Yeah.
what.
So yeah, no
But
matter where you're at,
yeah.
I coached. I in the past, I did, my career was, I was a human performance coach where I worked with world-class performers, and I still do to a smaller degree. And I'll ask them, hey, do you feel like you can improve another 1%? Like,
Nice.
these are people who are at the 100th percentile.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
you improve another 1%? And at
Yeah.
that level, 1% or 2% that's it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And so if those people are at that level, yeah, I can still challenge myself. I can improve a little bit more. They're not going to get complacent and rest on their laurels. Like, as Coach Greg Nelson would say, good, better, best, never let it rest. You're never going to arrive. That day's never going to come. We're like, okay, yay, I'm there. I reached my goal. No, 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 no. You're just getting started, bro. You're just getting started. So you just keep on keeping on. You just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to live. So
It really is. It really is. And it is that, for me, it's that pursuit of Gong Fu, right? The mastery of yourself, of there's always going to be something, because I know eventually my body will fail me. I have beat it up too much. And when that day comes, it's time to just take on the mental world then, right? And try something else. And if I'm going to do it throughout my whole process, but there's always something there. And that's why, for me, especially because it always goes back to martial arts, is be a white belt. Be a white belt at heart.
always,
Right?
always,
Always. And it makes a
always.
big difference. And I can honestly say, Todd, like, the reason why you and I are friends is because you're like that, right? Is you
Same,
understand what it's like and
same,
appreciate that, right? And
same.
that's what we want the whole world to be like, guys, because we're two really happy people, right? Even though that we don't seem it, right? But it says something. So let's throw in our plugs, get it done real quick there, brother. You shoot.
Yeah, I'll go. For those of you who are interested in learning more about me and what I do, I have an online training program that you can subscribe to with the IDS, and it's idscitizendefender.com. Go check that out. It's the best deal on the internet, even better than Kevin's. And for those who are interested in becoming an instructor in my program, you can go check out thisidids.com, or check us out on all of our social media platforms at Integrative Defense Strategies, or you can follow me personally on social media on Todd Fossey on wherever you want.
Awesome. Right on. Yeah, if you guys want to check out the real best self-defense, check out BuddhaBrothers.com. I put basically my whole program out there for you guys. We're going to be making a whole bunch of new stuff, so just make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Soon enough, I even have my own Shopify store coming, so you can buy sweet swag like hoodies and tank tops,
Ooh.
t-shirts, and tactical pens and super cool stuff. We found one that's like this crazy, like, it's gonna burn people, like, it's crazy. It's just a pen. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is legal in Canada, kind of thing, but make sure to check out that stuff. So stay tuned. Make sure to follow me on my social media channels, at Self-Defense Goat or Self-Defense with Kevin Goat. And yeah, guys, really appreciate you guys watching the podcast. We're getting some really good feedback from it. So we're gonna keep doing this as long as Todd and I still like each other, which I guess is kind of
That
happening.
could end at any time.
Who knows, especially with this guy. No, I'm just kidding, but always a pleasure, brother. We'll see you next week. Yeah, okay, okay. Awesome. Take care, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.